3 straight wins for the Sabres. They are 5 points out of the second to last spot in the East. They have gained a point. Is it a point or is it even? Because the Penguins...
Well, they're now the Flyers have lost a few.
Right.
Wait, are you asking if they're gaining on those teams or if they're gaining on like the playoffs? Because I don't think they've gained... in a week, I don't think they've gained a point on a playoff spot.
I don't think they're gaining in anybody, which to me is important context of the discussion that, of course, will follow today. The story of the game is not that the Sabres won. It's that Tage Thompson got blasted in the head and nobody responded. And there's a lot to get to with it, I suppose. I don't know. Is it pretty cut and dry? Like, they definitely should have.
They absolutely should have.
It's hard to believe no one did. And one of the funny things about a play like that, if you want to give us a call, you can. I'm surprised nothing happened. And your response to that might be, why would you be surprised? This team's not a team that's done stuff like that. They're soft and on and on and on. And I don't believe you. I think you have to be absolutely stunned that nothing happened. Not even a fake addressing of it.
Right.
Not even somebody skates over to whoever's closest to Tage and puts hands on jersey and yells bad words.
Right.
Like that's you don't even have to do actually anything. You kind of have to pretend to. That's the cost of playing hockey. That's the whole idea. Somebody snows your goalie, what do? You take the guys into the boards, and they're going after it now, and then nothing happens.
Right.
To me, it's the price of admission. I was kind of blown away. I was really blown away because, again, like being there Friday and Sunday, the crowds were pretty good. The results were pretty good. The Sabres looked like a team that could play hockey. Luukkonen looked great in a couple of these games. Like I was just happy about everything. But it as someone who's not even Joe, well, I guess Rob Ray night was on Friday, so I want to add some context there.
Yeah.
But I'm not sitting here asking you to cheap shot guys and fight for the rest of the game. It just feels like, hey, you play this sport. I don't make the rules to this sport, but you play it. And one of the rules is you see your best player on the ice after a headshot, or even you don't even know how I got there. You go do something.
That's why I don't really buy some of the excuse making from the players about it on, Samuelsson. And Samuelsson looked like he knew post-game that he screwed up. Like his demeanor, the way he was talking about it, saying that I take responsibility for being on the ice and nothing have happened. Zucker was a little bit more defensive, I would say, about it. The idea that, I was confused by it or I didn't see it, it's not a hard puzzle to figure out.
Right.
Tage Thompson is lying face first on the ice without his helmet, and the linesman has raced over at 1,000 miles an hour to grab Steven Noesen. It's not hard to figure out who did it.
Let's get...
what happened. You didn't need to see the hit. Your best player's lying on the ice, and that linesman's being awfully fast to get to that guy. I wonder why.
Famous television
stunner.
detectives. Let's get House on this case. Let's get Sherlock Holmes over here. Let's get CSI. Oh, what do you think it is, fellas? I don't know.
Right.
Tage is on the ice face down, the helmet. What's the linesman role? What's he doing here? Yeah, right. I feel like you pieced it together pretty well.
Ask your bench. Your entire, you see the one replay from the back end, and that's another one where the whole bench sees it. So if you really wanted to know, it wouldn't have been that hard.
Who was it?
But you're right.
Him.
Go ask Bo Byram, who had just got to the bench. He had his hands up in the air. He knows who did it. The other thing too is everyone's kind of facing that direction. You didn't see something out of the corner of your eye. I think it's excuse making. I don't buy it.
Yeah.
And I also don't buy Jason Zucker's excuse that he is computing in his head what the odds are of winning this hockey game if I go after the guy. It's not... what Zucker said after the game was that we responded by winning, right? We get the power play. We won the game. We get the 2 points. I don't want to take a 2-5 and a 10 and cost my team the win. And I don't buy that either. When that happens in the moment, you're not doing all that thinking. You're not sitting there with your arms crossed going, let me look at the scoreboard. 12 minutes to go. If we're about to get a 5-minute power play, that takes half the time. I think I'm going to do nothing here. Thompson's laying on the ice, bam, you act. It's an instinct thing. You're not thinking about the impact in the scoreboard. It's an instinct thing. There's no excuse I've heard that I really accept. The one about how, it's not the same game anymore, right? Rob Ray night. It's not 1996. Go watch the Florida Panthers play hockey. They exist in today's league. You don't think they would have done something in that moment? And I'm picking out maybe the team in the league that would do something. I'm pretty sure most teams in the league would have acted immediately. I posted a clip yesterday. This same exact team, the New Jersey Devils, had their captain 2 weeks ago get blasted in the head. Not even a thought. A dude who had no fighting majors for his career went right after Matthew Tkachuk, who's a lot tougher than Steven Noesen is. I think it was pretty bad.
Yep. I was going to say, I don't want to stop you. I feel like you're nailing all the points here. At the risk of being the nostalgic loser, all those points that Zucker made are evaporated if I take the last time I saw a guy get headshot in the same part of the ice and the same end of the ice at a game in 2007 when Drury got hit there by Chris Neal. And what happened? Drew Stafford... First guy in is Drew Stafford.
Yeah.
Not a fighter.
Rookie.
Did the game matter? Did the game matter? Yeah. All the games mattered. It was a race. Ottawa and Buffalo were two really good teams fighting for. And you trying to tell me that? I mean, listen, I've been told for 10 years that games that this team is playing in that actually don't matter in the standings matter a lot to the players. Oh, it's very important that they win these games. They care so much about these games. Right, I know. I don't disagree. I know they want to win that game. It's 4-2 in the third period at home. It's 4-2. It's not a 4-4 game. You're not down a goal where you need one to pull it out. You have a 2-goal lead at home. Like you said, like the idea of doing all of the math on that, please. It's to me, what is more embedded in any sport than the response in that moment is in hockey? I can't think of another thing in sports that is more, it's the code in baseball. It's bigger than that. You know,
I think it's bigger than that.
If you bunt to break up a no-hitter, you're a loser. But still, like, you're not supposed to do that.
It's more like your guy gets beamed by a pitch.
Right, the pitcher comes to you and says,
expect to happen?
Who do you want me to throw at?
Right.
I'll throw at
expect
somebody.
that to happen in baseball.
And then the pitcher gets warned or thrown out. And, like, fine, I did that for you. I did that for our guys.
Yeah.
It's kind of amazing. And Zucker's response, someone linked a clip from him when he was playing in Arizona. One of his teammates got hit and how he went over and blasted the dude, and the dude knew it was coming because he hit our guy, and I had to make sure he knew that that's not okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't want to be Neanderthal guy. I don't think I am. I was at the game, and I felt like the way for a hockey team to show me they are invested or care or a lot of things you can do, and one of them is just like stand up in that moment.
Well, that's just it, right? Like,
just show me you're invested. Show me you're a team.
Yeah, that was one of my takeaways. I don't think they're not an engaged, connected team, which on some level is understandable.
Right.
They're terrible, right? They're terrible. They are so far out of the playoff race. They are still in last place in the East. I can't imagine it's a lot of fun right now to be on that team. So on some level, I get it, but it goes to show. Like, you're not... One difference, okay, so other than the era is very different when Stafford goes after Neal in 2007, which, by the way, I looked up, was his 22nd game of his NHL career. Drew Stafford, who did not hesitate, goes right after a dude that was way tougher than him, Chris Neal.
That's a first-round pick.
Not Steven Noesen.
That's Stafford, a first-round pick, 22 games in, scoring winger.
Right.
I'll throw with Chris Neal.
Right. Why did he do it, and why did he maybe not hesitate
because
more
that's
so than the team yesterday?
That's the sport.
It's the sport, but also you're on a team that is they're going hard every night. They're not like they're playing for something. It's meaningful. There's a culture on that team, right? Like Chris Drury also was the dude that established that. So, like, everything's different. You're more engaged. On a day-to-day, hour-to-hour, minute-to-minute basis, you are more engaged if you're on that Sabres team than if you're on this Sabres team. You're just not into it the same way.
Yep.
And that, to me, is it. You're not into it. You're not as, bleed the blue and gold, like Rob said on Friday night. You're not bleeding blue and gold if you're on that team right now because that team stinks. You're in last place. Jason Zucker, he might be planning he might be on another team in a month.
Right.
He might know that. Like, I'm going somewhere else, try to get a shot at a Stanley Cup. What am I going to? I'm going to go fight for this team. And I'm not saying they're thinking that in the moment. I'm just thinking that is kind of right now ingrained in the whole group when you have a season like this.
803-0550 is our number. They've won 3 in a row. They're playing better, I guess, right?
They are. Well, they're playing better. They are
playing better.
Still a first period team only.
Yes.
It's incredible.
It really is.
I think they're now number 2 in the league in goal differential in the first period. They won the first yesterday 3-0.
And then they won 4-3.
It was the easiest bet ever.
To bet that the double.
I didn't bet them to lose. I just bet them to lose the second and third.
Right. Yeah. 803-0550 is our phone number. On the Sabres, if you want, in what it really means to have that hanging over. Lindy Ruff's comments after the game were interesting. We'll play those. We kind of got vintage, frustrated Lindy swearing and pushing back on the idea that his team is too soft. He said guys on the bench wanted to do it. Then, of course,
did you hear him in the next breath though?
He said
he was kind of back and forth.
It was a little bit like there'll be another time. He said, BS to we're not tough enough, and then what about that guy? He wasn't on the ice. Find somebody else.
Yeah.
Then he kind of flipped into.
He said, go grab somebody.
Go get anybody else. Do something. Let anybody else know. But, of course, they're on the power play, and they gave up a shorthanded goal, and they didn't compete on the power play. Yeah. And had they lost that game, had they found a way to, which they didn't. But there are moments there where, had they lost that game, and we come in here today and we're talking about they blew a 3-goal lead at home, Tage got knocked out, there have been a lot of rock bottoms or apathy bottoms.
Yeah.
Been a lot. Had they lost that game, man, it would have been unbelievable to hear the sound of like what the reaction would be.
I do agree. Do you think because there's Zucker saying like, hey, we could have cost us the game if we went after him. If they had, did everybody have from the group chat? I think I had 3 different group chats where someone's like, Jack Hughes shouldn't make it out of this game alive, And Lindy even there kind of shows like classic Lindy a little bit there, like, okay, then go after somebody. He's out of the game. Like the Ottawa brawl, I don't think this graduated to the Ottawa brawl.
Not at all, no, of course.
Chris Neal's not on the ice. You can't go after Chris Neal. They didn't go after Chris Neal. He's in the penalty box.
Right. Famously, Ottawa put their top line out there hoping to get away with it.
And what did they do? What Lindy said last night, go grab somebody else, is exactly what they did. If the Sabres had lost that game last night because Beck Malenstein decided, I'm going after Jack Hughes on the next shift, and they lost the game, I bet you people would be a lot less frustrated this morning than they are right now.
That's right. A pulse and any sort of connection right now is actually more important than a couple of points in the standings. I mean, they're in 29th place.
Right.
I mean, good luck trying to tell me the points are important. You're in 29th. Paul in Buffalo. Good morning, Paul. Happy Monday. Welcome back.
Yeah, Victory Monday. Happy for every Sabre fan.
Victory Monday.
It is a victory
Paul, it's
Monday in a way.
Too soon, Victory Monday. You can't tell us victory. We're still hurting over here.
I apologize for that. Let me put a little context around this. In the first period of this game at exactly 15:19, and it's great because the camera goes to the corner shot as Luke Hughes is there about to throw a zone-clearing pass. Tage Thompson could have buried him into the corner and drifted right by. A couple minutes later, Rasmus Dahlin takes an elbow in the face. He gets up and he takes Noesen and throws him about 7 feet. He takes a penalty for it, finally kill it. And then we see Tage. Wait. Again in the first period, Jack Quinn gets leveled. It was a clean hit, but, I mean, he got leveled. No one does anything. So then we get to Tage Thompson getting blasted. And Mattias Samuelsson, who, in my opinion, is analytically, is counting stats, any way you want to look at it, is among the worst defensemen in the NHL, and certainly defenseman number 8 out of 8 on the Buffalo Sabres. He does nothing. He should be waived. He should be waived today, not tomorrow. He should be waived today. He makes Owen Power worse every single shift they play together. Owen Power, the numbers show, is the most active defenseman in the NHL. That means goals are scored when he's on the ice, for and against. The man is an offensive dynamo, and he can't throw a pass to his defensive partner because he's got, horse hooves for hands. It is unbelievable how this guy gets so much ice time. Every single number will show you Henri Jokiharju is a better defenseman than Mattias Samuelsson by leaps and bounds. He also happens to be right-handed, and they can't give him enough time on the bench. I just don't get it. And I mean, wimps always have excuses why they don't get into a fight. It's just as simple as that. You know, Rasmus Dahlin's not a wimp. He got elbowed in the face, got up, and threw a guy who didn't elbow him 10 feet. That's because he's not a wimp. I wish they would let him fight, because apparently him, Jordan Greenway, who gets hurt all the time, you know, Alex Tuck when it's called for, you know, a couple guys have cojones on this team, but there are so many guys that don't. And I have no use for Matthias Samuelsson at all. I have no clue how he was on the ice for the last 37 seconds of this game. I frankly don't know how this team evaluates defensemen. They don't look at the numbers. I don't get it at all. They are so frustrating. I'm looking forward to seeing Rasmus Dahlin in the Four Nations. I'm looking forward to the Battle of the Tariff on February 14th in the Montreal Forum, USA v. Canada. But this team, it makes you angry every night. Guys, have a great show.
Thanks, Paul. I got a couple texts from friends to that last point. Like, how, I don't understand how unlikable it is. How it is. What am I trying to say here? Could they be any more unlikable? Was the text. Mm-hmm. And this is a team that has won a couple games. Again, the drought, does it overshadow everything and kind of, you know, flavor every conversation we have? Sure. Being a bad team, having another season of disappointment, having players that just don't connect because of moments like this, it's definitely frustrating. And Samuelsson there, yeah, I'm reminded of the Office Space scene that is turned into a meme, which is, what is it exactly that you do here? You know, what would you say your job is here, Matthias Samuelsson? You're a big defenseman that, even in that moment, nothing. Mm-hmm. And at one point in his career, he was thought to be the secret sauce to the Sabres' success because he was the guy that canceled out plays defensively. And I don't know, like, there's a lot to get to with this. Of course, this does come on the back end of a weekend where, going in, you may have been hopeful the Sabres were going to make a franchise-altering trade. And they didn't. The team that they were discussing trade options with, Vancouver, made two other trades instead. Now, maybe they just decided to do that because it's best for them. Maybe the Sabres were reluctant to meet a price for Elias Pettersson, but Pettersson did not move. And if he ultimately doesn't move, you know, we have to wonder if there was ever a right deal there in place. But to me, the lack of response to Thompson, I'm going to connect it to something else, and it might be a stretch, but to me, it's fruit from the same tree. It's not that different than losing 13 games in a row and doing nothing. The organization, they win their games occasionally. I had a great time on Friday, I had a great time on Sunday. I look forward to going to other games. You know, when you go to these games as individual 3-hour events, you can have some real good times. And we want that occasional one-off to turn into, you know, the season-long show where you're back in the NHL. And it's an organization that, to me, is just too often defined by inaction. They're just inactive. They're not plugged in to, boy, something's got to change around here. And when they do make changes, sometimes it's the wrong change or the wrong goal in mind. But no response to Thompson is not that different to me than no response to 13 consecutive losses in a season where you changed a coach to get better and more accountable. The whole idea was accountability. That was the phrase of the offseason. And yet, whenever anything happens, there's not really much of it. What happens when you lose 13 in a row? Nothing. Keep going. What happens when your best player gets smashed in the face on the ice? Nothing. Just keep going. He's okay. And, yeah, we got to be better next time. Okay. See you later. Just, it's inaction. And that's tough.